Data protection and privacy teams are under more pressure than ever with new laws, AI oversight, data breaches, and the constant expectation to do more with fewer resources.
That's why TrustArc built a modern privacy and data protection management platform powered by Arc Intelligence. It unifies your tools, automates the work that slows you down, and surfaces what matters most right when you need it.
From guided quick actions to our intelligent assistant, Ask Arc, you get credible, contextual answers backed by expert research, not generic AI guesses.
Finally, privacy that works the way privacy pros work.
Learn how TrustArc helps teams move faster with confidence at trustarc.com/serious-privacy. That's trustarc.com/serious-privacy.
This is Serious Privacy,
powered by TrustArc.
Here are your hosts, Paul Breitbart and Kay Royal.
Quite a few weeks have passed since we last brought you up to date on the global developments in the data protection and privacy community. So there we go, another week in privacy episode. And this week you'll hear all about AI-generated female conference speakers, LLM training data, the role of women in privacy more in general. You get some book tips, we talk about FISA recertification, adequacy decisions, and new legislation. So fasten your seatbelts and get ready for takeoff. My name is Paul Breitbart.
And I'm Kay Royal, and welcome to Serious Privacy. All right, Paul, got an unexpected question for you because I'm just going to dive right in because this is kind of a week in privacy for me and you to catch up.
Oh yeah, we've got a lot of catching up to do.
Despite the messy week we had, which frankly came out pretty well, I think. What skill do you wish you had learned that would make your life easier right now? Professional or personal? What skill do you wish you'd learned that would be really helpful?
Time travel.
Ooh, I'm not sure that's a skill. That's a superpower.
Apparition? No, is that also a superpower? For a long time, I would have said stenography, shorthand.
Mine is shorthand because I take handwritten notes.
But I don't take as many notes anymore. So that has become slightly less useful. I
am back to taking notes because I bought a Remarkable 2. And I do not have it connected. Although I have heard that if you connect it to your own drive, that it does not go through a Remarkable system. It goes straight from the device to your own drive. But I don't know if that's true or not. If anybody's from Remarkable listening, let me know. So at this point, it is not connected. I use it like I used my erasable notebook before. I just take lots of notes on it, go from there. But
shorthand for you.
Yep.
Sometimes I think about speed reading, and I've tried speed reading in the past, but I didn't really like it.
Okay.
No particular skills come to mind that I really feel that I'm lacking, but maybe some interpersonal skills.
Okay, listeners, let me know what skills Paul needs to have, because apparently he's already got ADD wrangling down. I think after we did the Nordic privacy arena, someone came up after and was like, I've always wondered listening to the podcast. Now after seeing y'all in person, Paul, how do you manage this? And he gestured to all of me. I'm like, Paul manages this just fine. But yes.
You don't need to be managed. You manage yourself.
Well, there are times I literally remember when I worked at Align Technology, I must have had a bad day. I had nothing but chocolate and caffeine. I was talking to someone. I'm like, you know what? I really want to slap myself right now. So I'm going to shut up and leave your office because I am bouncing off the walls. It was crazy. But let's catch up in week. There's a couple of things that are top of mind for me that are really hot. And I'm going to bring one of them up to you. Fake AI generated women speaking at a conference. Now, I came across it in LinkedIn when people were posting, hey, you don't need fake AI generated women. There's a lot of women out here by Heidi Sass. A lot of women out here that are real. We're smart, we're talented. And they started tagging people in it. So that's how I first heard about it. So I had to go look it up. And here's the story behind it. And I'll post a link to it as we normally do. So this was DevTernity, which I have no idea what DevTernity is, but it must be a conference like I did Development University or something. I don't know. Edward Sizovs admitted on social media that one of his speakers that he featured in the conference was an auto-generated woman with a fake title. Now, apparently this came apart, and he admitted this because he was being challenged about some of the suspicious profiles on his conference websites that appeared to be generated by AI. He denied that the fake profile was intended to mask worse than expected level of diversity of speakers, and he refused to apologize. This was all on X or former Twitter. I don't know. I don't even log on anymore. It's not even on my phone. But this created a storm. It's been picked up by news everywhere. It's all over LinkedIn. You don't need to create fake smart women to have a woman speaker at your conference, even a woman speaker in tech, in cyber, in privacy, in whatever. There are women out there.
Oh, absolutely. And usually you are the one rolling your eyes. Now I am the one doing that. Because this is just not even insane. This is just plain stupid. And this has nothing to do with being right, with
Right.
It's plain stupid.
Yeah, plain stupid. I like that. Just plain stupid. That's a great summary of that. I mean, women, we all know that privacy for so long has been a woman-friendly field. You could even say at some point it was a woman-dominated field, and we've had some phenomenal women on the podcast talking about coming up in privacy and being in a women-dominated field. Now, I have my own theory over this, and it's because when in the U.S. in particular, probably not in other countries, but in the U.S. in particular, because privacy came up in the healthcare field and it came up in the education field, that the people who handled the records that privacy applied to were women. They were the medical records clerks, or they were the student file clerks. And so they raised up through privacy in that field a specialty for that. I could be wrong. I don't know.
Well, I hate to say it. No, I think you are wrong, but I think it was. I don't think you are wrong. It was probably also being a bunch of senior male managers deciding that somebody junior should do this because they didn't want it. And at the time, women generally were more junior than men.
And they did more hands-on work with actual files and records, because back then they weren't electronic largely.
There is some logic to it, even though it doesn't really make sense.
Yeah. But now, so many job descriptions, and I do watch job descriptions, as I said before, because it tells me what's going on in the field. I can watch the jobs that are open, like the one in CERN. I can watch the job openings, see what required skills they're having, what kind of experience they want. Because we know for a long time there, we desperately needed people in privacy, and there just weren't enough qualified. So very junior people were getting very senior roles. And now we have all different kinds of roles. But what I'm seeing more and more often now, especially for the high senior roles, the chief privacy officer role, is that they want someone with legal experience. And y'all know my opinion. I don't think you have to be a lawyer to be a CPO or to be senior in privacy. And not all lawyers are cut out to do it. But they're asking for it now because the laws are getting so prevalent and so complicated. They want someone who knows how to navigate that. Now, the bad thing of that is law is a male-dominated field. So if you're going to make privacy a law-dominated field, you're going to start getting a lot more men in it. And I think we've started to see that we're seeing a lot more senior males transition over into privacy, and they're not cut out for it.
No, that's true. And at the same time, I also think that it's not just a legal profession. It's also becoming more and more an engineering profession again. Look at the work that Michelle Dennedy is doing, but also that Jelena Kojic is doing at Cisco and some of the others. And that's also a lot of women doing that work. So let's hope this will remain a gender balanced profession.
Yes, it doesn't need to be dominated by one or the other.
No, because in the end, that makes it stronger. And you mentioned just now that there are a lot of really great women in this profession. And as evidence to that, while I was in Brussels a couple of weeks ago, I attended the 2023 Women at Privacy Awards ceremony. And 4 awards were handed out this year to Andrea Jelinek as a sort of lifetime achievement award. She has now stepped down from all of her public roles. Laura Linkemies from Privacy Laws and Business, who's been writing about privacy updates since forever and does a great job at that.
Yeah.
And then also Natalia Bielova and Carrie Lauman, who received awards also really good at what they do. And then a whole range of others being nominated, including representatives from DPAs like Marit Hansen from one of the northern German DPAs, Marie-Laure Denis from the French DPA, but also our podcast co-host, Ria Valle, for all the work that she's doing to make privacy news publicly available for everybody and understandable.
Yeah, absolutely. And we can call out others. Annalise Moen in Australia just won the privacy award for IAPP Australia. Pretty amazing efforts by Carmen Marsh highlight women in cybersecurity, including privacy lawyers or cybersecurity lawyer professionals as well. And then Ludmila Morisova-Bus, she does Top Cyber News Magazine. Fabulous effort. She does the Magnificent Seven, the women in cyber, and highlighting women in this very technical field. But you hit it right on the head there, Paul. It's also the technical aspect of it, because you and I were bemoaning a year or so ago about how companies were rolling the data privacy roles or the data privacy functionality under the information security or the IT roles because they were already handling data. So they should be the ones over privacy, right? I don't necessarily agree with that,
right.
But that's also one of the reasons why we're seeing a lot more men in it, is because privacy is starting to roll up under a lot more of that information security or IT roles too. And we're still seeing that. Thankfully, not as much as we did, but the ones that are already established that way seem to be continuing that way. So I just think it's interesting that we have this. We didn't intend the podcast episode to be about women in privacy, but there's a lot of phenomenal efforts out there to highlight women in privacy, in cyber law. Join the movement. Don't be creating AI women.
No,
especially they're
agreed.
probably half naked and look like fairies anyway, or some sort of space goddess. I've seen that too. Lord help us.
Yeah, it does remind me of a book I've just been reading, Ready Player One. I'm sure you've read it many, many moons ago.
Yeah.
It was recommended to me. I'd never read it.
And saw
Yeah, that's still on the list somewhere for the Christmas vacation.
The movie's not as good.
No, that's usually the case with books. But the book is really nice and also a bit dystopian, living our world completely online in an avatarized world. And, not sure that that's the world that I want to end up in.
No, and, that is something that we have to start looking at for the newer generation who really are digital natives. They are born working in the digital world and virtual reality and everything that's taking over. And I think some of the things that people talk about, and we've talked about this before, the newest generation doesn't care about privacy. Yes, they do.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
They just deal with it differently than we do, but they do care. But speaking of that, that's some of the news headlines we've seen this week is companies getting in trouble for what they're doing with children's data or children users as they have it. And so we're starting to see some more news headlines around that, which is very interesting. I'm sure you have one that's popping to mind. The one I'm thinking of is Meta, of course, because
obviously.
Why not?
Well, no, I was actually still with my mind with the great women in privacy and the lack of women in certain roles.
Looking up more?
Well, I mean, we cannot not talk about the OpenAI saga.
Yeah. Oh, what? I'm sorry. That's really a drama now. I mean, it's like, that's going to be one that goes down in the history books.
It will be, there will be a movie at some point, but it will be a very male-dominated movie because obviously Sam Altman is a man. All of his directors' team is male. The Microsoft team is male. And the new board of OpenAI also seems to be male, at least to a very large extent. So, yeah.
That is one thing that they do need to fix is women on boards.
Yeah, so that's one of the reasons why I brought it up. It all seems like the old boys network bringing each other back together, giving each other roles, and whatever happened there at OpenAI, I still don't know, and to some extent do not care because whatever they are going to do, I don't trust their software and I don't like their ethics.
I don't either. People laugh at me. I still don't use it. And I hear that late last week or over the weekend, Amazon announced their AI platform. which is supposed to be more directed towards enterprise, more focused on privacy and security. But I also have heard criticism that it just cannot measure up to.
Yeah, that's probably true. I think Google is doing a fairly good job in finding the balance between privacy on the one hand
I think you'd say that.
quality on the other hand. No, maybe not, but I've said it before on this podcast in the Brussels episode. But, the big problem with the foundational models remains that the training data was just the foundational models, the training data was just taken from here, there, and everywhere, and without asking anybody's permission or authorization. And that's a concern. And that's also one of the final points still on the table for the new European AI Act, what to do with these foundational models and how they should be regulated or not.
Yeah, they've already ingested the data before years later being told they shouldn't be doing it. And it never occurred to them to whether they could or not. The data was publicly available. It just wasn't publicly legal to grab, but it was available. Like LinkedIn is the perfect example. The data on LinkedIn is publicly available. If you're a member of LinkedIn, you can pretty much see it. The thing is, you're not supposed to violate their terms and scrape the data and use it.
No, well, there are a few things there because to some extent, the fair use exemption under the US copyright legislation and also some scraping limitation provisions in the European copyright legislation seem to imply that under certain circumstances, it might actually be legal to collect all this data to train a model. Yeah, I mean,
I would argue that fair use goes that far.
No, maybe not, but that's for the courts to decide, and I'm looking forward to those court cases.
There's a fair use exemption, and they don't go read the details or understand them to understand the fair use exemption doesn't apply to them.
Well, it's the same like people hearing there is such a thing as a legitimate interest and then saying, oh, but we've got that.
I'm legitimately interested in having that, so yeah, I qualify.
Yeah. The other book I've recently read, and you've probably read that too by now, is Your Face Belongs to Us from Kashmir Hill. Also, very good and very scary stuff.
Yes. Very scary the more you know. She puts it in terms that the average reader can understand, but it still requires a little bit of expertise in the field to understand the nuances behind it, which is natural. I mean, how many times have you watched a movie or a show in your profession and been like, oh, they don't stick IV needles in that way when they see it. So this is no different. There's no faults. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying it does take a little bit of expertise to understand the nuances behind some of what you see. But I think even the average person with no experience in privacy or technology would understand that this is scary.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And it's written really like a novel and not like a nonfiction.
Easily ingestible.
Yes, I agree.
Easily ingestible.
So what other big topics do you have from
What
the US?
other big topics do we have? Well, one of the things I will say is we still are coming out with the state legal episode. I know I've been promising y'all that all year long. I know. It's coming.
But we'll do it before Christmas.
We'll do it before Christmas. And then don't forget that Paul and I typically take January off, take a little bit of a break, and then we start the next season back on Global Privacy Day.
Data Protection Day.
Oh, something that's not privacy, but I still found interesting that hit my news this week is the United States Supreme Court has adopted a code of ethics.
Yes, I read that. How many years after they should have done that?
I just thought it was pretty interesting. Definitely thought it was pretty interesting to watch.
And basically everything they've been doing for these past decades is suddenly also well within their code of ethics.
So for our side, looking at it, one of the ones that hit, and this was today that I just saw this, was on the U.S. Senate Select Committee on Intelligence introduced legislation. This was standard renewal of the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act, Section 702, which y'all may know is the one that's really under fire for it. But apparently there are some competing proposals for what the red lines would be, which I'm sure happens all the time, but it's really interesting how this one is coming together. And I think we've had Caroline Lynch on our show And she was one of the lawyers working that actually worked on this bill. So I've been dying to reach out to her and go, ooh, give me your thoughts on this. Usually it's not much of a newsmaker. So I thought that
Usually
one was
it's a
really
rubber
interesting.
stamp, yeah.
Right, pretty much. And so I think this is where you can say that this is actually having a difference. And I like that. Some other things that I've seen happening is Google is still saying that in 2024, they're really going to attack the cookie problem. They've been saying it for a while. It's been up, it's been down, and then it's back and forth. But they're saying they're really going to look at doing it in 2024, blocking
the first
third-party
percent
cookies.
will be switched off in January for all Chrome browsers. And likely from September onwards, they'll retire all the third-party cookies in Chrome.
I'm not going to hold my breath. I'll believe it when it happens.
That's true. At the same time, with the Privacy Sandbox now being widely available also in Chrome, I think they are confident that they have a good alternative.
Yeah.
That's their words, not necessarily what I agree to.
Yeah. Some of the others is the Meta one that I mentioned. 33 U.S. state attorneys general put in privacy violations against Meta. This was October lawsuit brought by these attorneys general. And what they're talking about is Instagram accounts belonging to those under 13 were not properly shut down. And they're still collecting the data from that. And then interestingly enough, this actually made the news that United Airlines is looking at serving targeted ads. The data, right? I don't know. It says on the mobile app or plane's entertainment system. So yeah, I guess on board the plane, but I think the mobile apps are, just as you use their. So it's saying that information such as flight history or their rewards points could be used to target ads, but you can opt out of data tracking.
How about opting in for a change?
Right? Why not opting in? Saying, hey, maybe I want this. Does remind me there are some changes to Apple coming. I believe Apple 17 is supposed to have the phone-to-phone connection that you can automatically share the data. You can turn that off as well. I don't even know why that one hit the news as a story. Maybe people just like to talk about Apple. I don't know. But then also in Uruguay, I thought this one was interesting. They recognizing data protection adequacy with South Korea.
Yes. Well, Uruguay has been known to follow the list from the European Commission.
Yeah.
And with South Korea being recognized, of course, some time ago, that would now be followed by Uruguay.
Okay. That would make sense then. But it still has to be formally adopted for them to do it. So I just thought that was interesting as well. I am still wondering where we're going to see the cross-border privacy rules still grow. Starting a few years ago, there was a lot more talk about rolling this out. I guess this was before COVID shut everything down. Looking at making it a more global program. Haven't really heard a lot more about that since then.
Well, there has been some progress.
There's
made.
been movement, but
Yeah,
not the big splash.
The global CBPR framework was adopted earlier this year in 2023.
Right.
So there is now the framework to do so. Obviously, it's still very much a US-based program, although the UK has now joined as an associate country. And other countries, Australia, Canada, Japan, Korea, Mexico, the Philippines, Singapore, Chinese Taipei, and the US. All of those are now part of the Global CBPR Forum, which is basically the equivalent from the binding corporate rules. So it's a certified, authorized, in-company data transfer mechanism that can be used and that would then ideally also be recognized by the European Union if you do a combined BCR-CBPR.
Still not hearing a lot about it.
No, and I'm still not convinced that this is the way forward.
Right.
Because it's a self-certification mechanism, and I'm not a big fan of those. But we'll see.
Yeah.
Time will tell.
I'm not sure that self-regulation is really the way to go. Right?
So in other news, it seems that another gap on the map seems to be closing soon, because Ethiopia has approved its first data protection bill for submission to Parliament. So the government has approved it, and it will now be subject to parliamentary scrutiny. looks like a fairly standard GDPR-based data protection bill. First glance, no real specifics. Obviously, Ethiopia is not the biggest economy in Africa, but still it's nice to see that the gray spots on the map are slowly disappearing. Also quite relevant is that the UK has yet again proposed amendments to their post-Brexit data protection and digital information bill that are now being scrutinized in Parliament. As the UK government calls it, these are a lot of common sense changes to the legislation that was already tabled earlier
Common
this year.
sense changes.
Oh yeah, common sense, because it would allow the government to access, for example, your bank data to see if you are not defrauding, if you get a pension from the government or some other sort of social benefit. Other measures about reassurance and support to families as they grieve a loss to a child, so that there is a data preservation process for social media and things like that, because social media now is not forced to maintain that data or retain that data. And those could be also important in certain coroner investigations. There will be more use cases for biometrics to strengthen national security, including international exchanges. So yes, you can imagine that all of this also, in my view, is very much common sense.
I don't know what Paul's about bringing common sense to this. I'm just saying, y'all need to question this like I do. But I will say also, and I know we're coming to close to the end of the episode as well, but wanted to make sure that one, y'all please be strong advocates, share out your tips for online shopping for your loved ones, because this is the time of the year where people are targeting, bad actors are targeting vulnerable populations. And it is something that weighs really heavy on me, because it doesn't even have to be a vulnerable population. So many people are sucked in by scams, by things, by getting emails saying your order has a problem. Please click here. And they're so frantic in the holiday season and busy with so many things. They're not thinking about it. So please be an advocate. I know bringing it up at Thanksgiving dinner was probably not an option. But, the more visibility we bring to this, the more that we can warn people. I mean, I think one of the best scams out there is when someone will call you and say, hey, you've got a problem with your order that you placed, but I know that you need to make sure that I'm the right person. So I'm going to send you a code so I know who you are and that I'm legitimate. Just tell me what that code is. That's trying to bypass your two-factor authentication. They're not sending you a code. They're clicking your password. And I will say it works, because probably 2 or 3 times a day now I get your G code is blankety blank 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 now on my two-factor. So it works. Make sure you do it. But I have to throw that out there, because I know we all have our jobs and what we do, but we are the people that are paying attention to this in the open world as well. So be an advocate on that perspective. Sorry, had to throw in the public service announcement in there, Paul. As I'm looking at also what's coming up for the next year, Paul and I will both be at the IAPP DC, the Global Privacy, what do they call it?
Summit,
Global Privacy Summit. Paul and I will both be there. So make sure. And we're going to look at putting on a coffee or something as well for fans. So we'll be looking at what we can do there. We probably need to start looking at scheduling that. I'm thinking something low key, whatever that we can do might be really cool.
We'll use January to do all the planning for next year.
Yeah, there we go. So we'll have that. We'll have stickers as well. We'll definitely bring us some stickers. If you've got ideas for the stickers you'd like to see, let us know. Last year, the ones that we did were good to the last mic drop. Why So Serious Privacy, which had the Joker on it. What were the one that we love with the logo that Paul rocks and Kay rolls her eyes. And the last one was, are you ready for the unexpected question?
You never are.
You never are.
Absolutely. There is one more shout out, and that's also bringing back our conversation to where we started today about strong women in privacy. And that is that Courtney Kind was appointed as the new privacy commissioner for Australia.
Yes.
She is currently based in London as the director of the Ada Lovelace Institute, working on data and AI for the benefit of people in society. And she used to be at Privacy International before that. But this is a really strong nomination for
Yes.
the Australia Privacy Commissioner. Really happy to see that. And she still has a bit of influence also over the new Australian data protection legislation that should be going through Parliament also in 2024.
Yeah.
So
Very
congratulations to Carly Kind.
Very, very cool. Love seeing that. So with that, Paul, have we finished another week in privacy?
We have, unless you still want to talk about Meta's Pay or OK plan. Obviously, there are some complaints being filed already.
Yes.
NOIP has brought their first complaint and has already indicated that there will be multiple complaints being filed in court against the Pay or OK
I
model.
haven't really heard much about what it's like. I don't know people that are participating in it.
I haven't heard anybody who's paying. I've heard quite a few people who've just accepted the ads because they've been seeing the ads since forever. I still have not been making my choice. I'm still waiting for a response from the Meta DPO
Answer your question.
to answer my questions. I've tried 4 times now to suggest that I really want an answer to my specific questions and not some
And they're not answering you?
template answer and not some reference to a blog. And so far,
I'm shocked and appalled.
yes, so am I. I had not expected this at all. But I'll keep you posted. As soon as I get a real
Yeah.
answer,
All I really want is a real answer to a substantive question.
all I want for Christmas is a real answer to my questions. Exactly. And on that happy note, we'll wrap up another episode of Serious Privacy. Like and review us in your favorite podcast app or on your favorite podcast platform. Join the conversation on LinkedIn. You'll find us under Serious Privacy.
Not always so serious.
You'll find the podcast on social media as Podcast Privacy. You'll find Kay as Heart of Privacy and myself as Europol D. Until next week, goodbye.
Bye, y'all.
That was Serious Privacy.
If you're a data protection or privacy professional, you already know the pressure. Non-stop regulatory change, AI oversight, internal demands, and the expectation to somehow stay ahead of it all. And the old patchwork of tools just isn't cutting it anymore.
No. That's why TrustArc created a modern privacy management platform powered by Arc Intelligence. The TrustArc platform brings your workflows, evidence, research, tasks, and applications all together in one unified and intelligent workspace so you don't waste time digging, clicking, or context switching.
With Ask Arc, your privacy assistant, you can ask plain language questions about laws, jurisdictions, or even your own program data and get credible, cited answers based on NIMBY research and more than 1,000 global laws. It's explainable, transparent, and purpose-built for data protection and privacy.
So if you need to add a vendor, create a cookie banner, or start an assessment, quick actions take formally complex tasks, turn them into bite-sized guided workflows to save you time.
It's a platform that thinks like you, works like you, and helps you move faster with confidence, whether you're a seasoned DPO or you're just getting started.
See how modern privacy gets done. Explore Arc at trustarc.com/serious-privacy. That's trustarc.com/serious-privacy.